Welcome to another senhasegura Shorts tutorial, and today we will see some troubleshooting steps. In this first example, the two nodes in my cluster show an error message saying database unavailable. Now, let me show you how to identify the root cause of an error and how to resolve the problem and get your environment back online. First, connect both instances using SSH on port 5902. Now that I'm all set up, let me investigate some basic things. The first one is storage. Here, I'm checking whether one of my partitions has reached 100% of storage use. If that is the case, it wouldn't be able to handle changes to the database. The /var partition is of particular importance because this is where we store the database. Everything looks okay? Let me check the other one now. Same thing here. So, it is time to move on to the second possible problem, processing power. It may be that too many running processes at the same time create problems when trying to synchronize. So let me use the top command on both sides. And I know there's a lot here, but a good baseline reference in the parameter load average. This number should always be lower than the number of CPUs you have. And since my lab has 2 CPUs, a load average of 0.37 is more than fine. None of my processors is maxed out. I see the same in my primary node. Well, so how can I find out what the problem is? What should I do? If you run the command tail-f to read the log file stored at var log mysql error log. This is the log file for my database. Everything that happens with my database is listed here. This file is thus telling me that the last connection failed because of a timeout. The connection between the node ending in 60 and the node ending in 61 timed out. So my problem is related to connectivity. It's a network problem. If it is a problem of insufficient storage, the log will tell you it couldn't write any data. If it is a processing problem, the log will inform that there are queued queries and that's why you are unable to write data to the database. So it depends on the problem. But connectivity issues tend to be a very common problem, and it can be caused by firewall settings, wrong link, VPN connections, depending on the geography of each node in the cluster, of course. So for now, all I know is that this is a connectivity problem. But how can I solve it? Well, let me first clear the screen so I can see it better. And then the first thing is to make sure there are no processes causing trouble in the database. How? Well, let's run the command ps aux grep mysql. The only thing on the list for now is the grep. As expected, I'll run the same command on the left now. And here we have the same result, okay? So there are no queued processes halting my connection. Good. Let me validate the service status then. systemctl status mysql. This command validates the service status. Oh, let me correct here. Here we go. So I get the message that the service has failed. I'll do the same on the other node. And here, on the other hand, the service is completely inactive or dead. So what we can do is recreate the cluster. And we do that from the main node forward. I'll leave the secondary node on top, just to make sure it's still connected. But let's start with the primary node. First, you will have to clear the cache files from Galera Cluster, the MySQL cluster provider used by senhasegura. And to do so, type cd var lib mysql now ls, and here we have all the files in our MySQL database. By adding a hash sign, I can add a comment to a command, right? This is used to review every item before I run the command so I don't delete any important files accidentally. And here are the files I want to delete: multimaster.info, galera.cache, and grastate.dat. Okay, let's double check those. multimaster.info, galera.cache, and grastate.dash. Now that I'm sure I have the right files, I'll delete the hash and press enter. Having completed this step, let's recreate the cluster. Well, remember to always leave the MySQL folder before changing anything, just to be on the safe side, okay? And the first command we should run is galera _new _cluster. Or you can press tab to complete automatically. After that, I will check if the service has been restored. Remember, it was inactive last time we checked, so I run systemctl status mysql. Now it is active and running. Good. Top will show me the real-time processing, but let's validate on our web interface as well. If I open my browser, I'll see my primary node can connect to the server and is ready for login. But my secondary node is still down. Database remains unavailable, so let's fix that one now. The steps here are slightly different because I don't have to recreate a cluster. Instead, the secondary node should join an already existing cluster. That means we don't need to clear the cache files or run the galera new cluster command. Here is what we do. Go to cd var lib, then ls-lha pipecrap mysql. This is the entire MySQL folder. This is where I deleted the cache files in the primary node. But now, since I have to completely sync the two instances and transfer everything from the primary node to the secondary one, I should move the MySQL folder to a backup folder. I'll call it MySQL_BKP. You see, I always add a hash symbol until I'm sure I've got everything right. After double checking, I erase it and run the command. Now you see that there is no MySQL folder any longer. Instead, we have MySQL_BKP. But I will recreate the MySQL folder, but this time it will be completely empty. Run the command install -d mysql -g mysql -o mysql. And now if I check my folders again, use the ls-lha command, I can see, let me clear it up to see it better. Here it is. Our new folder has been created. And I can retry to connect to the database now. First, it's safer to leave the var directory and go back to the home directory as we saw. And here I will run the command systemctl start mysql. But I'll add an ampersand to leave it on the background, because I'll be using the prompt for something else. But before that, let me just clear the screen here on the left and run the command. There we go. And now on the primary node, I'll type tail-f/var log MySQL error log again. And here I can see the two nodes start to communicate. You can see in this line that is trying to connect to the IP address 3061. I can do the same on the right, so I see what's going on in each instance. Right now, what they are doing is getting all the data in the database and transferring it to the secondary node. And this takes time because you have to wait for the files to be transferred. So please wait until the process is finished. Well, I had a very small database here, so it was fairly fast. And here I can keep track of the connectivity. But the most important thing here is at the bottom, senhasegura O2 synced with group. This means that the instance on the right is now part of the cluster again. And I have a similar message on the secondary node saying that it is now synced with the group and ready for connection. What does that look on the web interface? Back to the browser, my primary node is still on, but if I move to the secondary one, I see it's also ready for use. This is it for today, and I will see you in our next videos. Thank you for your time.